I am going to stitch the tic-tac-toe game board with the female turkey on it. I've stitched my placement stitch, and I have a piece of craft fuse, and I'm putting the sticky side up. You don't want to put it down, because if you ironed it for any reason, I don't know why you would, it would stick to the pocket on the back. So I'm sticking it to the front, and I'm going to tack this down. This is a piece I had left over from something else, so I'm not going to worry about cutting it down. Now I'm going to use cotton fabric. You can use felt here if you want, in which case you may not need this, but I would still use something, maybe some cutaway stabilizer, to help give it some body. Alright. So I'm going to use cotton. I just like to use cotton because there's, I don't know, it shows up the design so well. Alright, so I'm going to just make sure that you have all your sides covered and the top and the bottom covered. We're going to be trimming that either with a straight rotary cutter or a wavy rotary cutter. So this is step 3. Tacks down your fabric, faux leather, felt, whatever you want to use. Cotton, t-shirt material, I don't know. Just whatever you decide to use. Alright, now it starts the actual embroidery design. Alright, so the eye's finished, and I don't know how I turn that off, but I hope you got to see some of that stitching. Let me pull it back. So the black finished stitching, that was color stock number 5, and then the blue was 4. The 3 tacked down the fabric, 2 did the craft fuse, and 1 did the placement stitch. Alright, so we're going to put in orange for her beak. And I chose a little bit darker orange, not really an amber, but just a little bit darker orange. Helps to lock that. All right, I'm going to change my thread to a brown. I'll be right back. All right, color stop number 7 is going to stitch the little hangy downy thing. I don't know what it's called. Be back when that's done. And I'm sorry, but now you need to put black in for 2 little nostrils. So it's a quick little stitch. Really quick little stitch. And I guess you could jump forward and then you'd have to jump backwards on your machine. And maybe I'll move those. Yeah, I think I'll move those. Okay, so now we're going to change to, it says orange, but I'm going to swap it around. We're going to change to gold, and that is going to be color stop number 9. And this is going to do the feathers up on her head.
So oftentimes in these cases, the person that ultimately commits the shooting order later.
Color stop number 10 is going to be yellow.
Like usual, it's gonna get cooler. Cooler, less humid as well. You noticed it this morning? Enough of the humidity, please. I know, it's not humid, right? Hey, I just report it, right? I'm just the messenger. We've got kind of a tale of 2 air masses. We've got a little bit of warmth on the west side of the state. On the east side of the state, we're benefiting from a northeasterly wind behind yesterday's front that is now well offshore. You can see that frontal boundary here with our surface now.
My bobbin, my thread up here, it's making noise. Oh, fiddly dee. I'm going to have to back up because whatever went on when I moved away from the machine, messed up my design up there, so I'm going to have to back up or go forward in this case.
About 10 days out. 61 degrees. Let's talk about our short-term forecast because it is looking good out there. We've got a few scattered clouds this morning. Right now, a lovely view over Galveston, where the sun is starting to come up. We've got 68 degrees, a little bit of fog south and west of town. Out toward Victoria is where we've got a dense fog advisory, also Edna, although the visibility right now at 8, not looking too bad.
Alright, it's going to go over it a little bit, but I need to fill that in.
Sugarland, Greatwood area, our friends waking up in new territory. Upper 50s, low 60s right now.
There we go. I'm going to cut that off.
Those temperature readings fall once again in the mid to upper 50s. I mentioned a front. Now, out of the front, there's going to be remnants of Raphael that's going to be right around the Texas-Louisiana border. The majority of that.
All right, so now we're going to do orange on this. I didn't have that thread. When I use Coats thread that is less than a half of a spool, I have to put it horizontally. So if any of you use Coats thread and wonder what the deal is, that's what it is. You can use it vertically when it's full, but once it starts getting under a half of a spool, you got to put it horizontally. Alright, so now we're going to stitch color stop 11, and that's going to be orange. And I'm going to trim that thread.
We've got some colder weather on the way. Ooh, we can't wait. Thank you, Alita. All right, well, we've got a traffic alert to talk about on the 610 South Loop. In fact, my producer Eric in my
now you could change, I'm just using the same orange I'd had. You could change to a different orange, just to give it a little variety. Alright, and now we need a purple, or a lavender, or a hot pink, or any color you want to make the bow. Alright, so I put in my purple thread. And it's just going to do the same thing it's done before. And like I said, this is a little quicker than a fill design, and it gives it a special little effect. I like it. Now, on the one that is filled, alright, so it's got part of the bow done, and on the other one, sorry, the other one, the feathers up here at the top are fill stitched, so is the beak and this part, and the eyes. The only thing that is stitched like this is her bow on the other one. So they have different looks to them. Alright, so the little thing up here that makes it look like a bow, you could leave it open and not stitch it if you wanted to. I've just programmed it to stitch in a solid fill. Or digitized it, not programmed. So I think the next step after this is going to be the actual stitching the actual board for the tic-tac-toe. I'm going to do it in hot pink. Okay, so this is going to do the center part of the bow. Alright, let me change to my hot pink, and we're going to do the tic-tac-toe board. Sorry about that. I had my arm in your way. So this is just going to go through and stitch the lines. It's a continuous stitch. Let this one finish, and then I'll come back to the video in just a minute when this is done. So it comes down, goes over, goes up, comes down, goes over, goes like that. Crisscrosses. Alright, it's on the last leg of the tic-tac-toe board, and it's doing a wider satin stitch up at the top. This is your indication that you need to have some felt ready to go on the back. This is step 13. And after this step, we're going to turn it over and put felt on the back. I'll probably trim up some tails just so they don't show through. Well, it doesn't make any difference because there's going to be felt. Hello. She's so cute. And she's giving googly eyes to Mr. Turkey. Okay, so color stock 14 is going to stitch the felt that's going to create the pocket. You want to make sure that you overlap. Let's see, we got to go this way. You want to make sure you overlap this. Sorry about that. You want to overlap this stitch line and this stitch line, so when we cut it with the rotary cutter to make the lines nice and straight, you've got plenty to do it with. And I'm going to pull this down, save as much of this as I can. We got to have a little bit up at the top to trim, and then it'll trim a little at the bottom. So I'm going to put, there it is, some medical tape on the sides, the side and the top to hold it in place so it doesn't get shifted around when I put it back on my machine. Alright, so I've got my felt attached to the back, and I've got it secured, and it's going to stitch down, or tack down the back to the front. Alright. And like I said, this creates the pocket that you're going to put your game pieces in so they don't get lost. Now you can put a little snap on the pocket, you can put some Velcro. Alright, so that was a placement stitch, just telling you that this is what you needed to do. Alright, so I'm going to skip down one because Color Stop 15 actually stitches it down. I don't know what I was thinking, it's habit. And go to the satin stitch on Color Stop 16. And I'm going to stitch the satin stitch around, all the way around the edges. Now, I already have a Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus up on my Etsy page. And I have a baseball, Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus tic-tac-toe, and I have a baseball tic-tac-toe, and I'll have the turkeys, and I'll be putting more up. I'll be back. Alright, so it's finished the stitching the little squares for the tic-tac-toe board. Now we need to take it out of the hoop and trim it down. Alright, I'm at the cutting table, and you want to take your ruler and a rotary cutter that mine has disappeared. Alright, so I am using this rotary cutter, the wavy edge, to give this look to it. Okay, along the fabric, and it helps keep it from fraying. Now, I've lost height and I don't have the strength, so I have to be really careful. You want to use your ruler and put the 1/8 inch mark along the satin stitching. Apply a lot of pressure and use I just can't apply enough pressure. My hands aren't big enough the whole bit. Alright, and I found that if you go like that, it cuts a whole lot better. Yep, that's against all the rules. We're going to be a rule breaker. And what doesn't get cut is just little pieces of thread, because I need a new blade. And I'm going to put this over to the side. So do it again, put the 1/8 inch mark, and make sure you've got something up here to help keep it aligned properly. Give it some pressure, and that one worked good. Alright, and we're just going to repeat the process, and you do the same thing for the game pieces. And I need a new one of these. I've about worn that sucker out. This was my first rotary cutter with a regular rotary blade in it. Okay, bring it closer to me, line up the top, that up, and there we go. And there is our little girl with the pocket in the back to put the game pieces. And the game pieces are done basically the same. There's a few extra little steps that I've done in case you want to use fabric pieces. So let me get started on the game pieces.